Okay, I just had to record myself right now because I'm looking at Salim's work for the first time, and like this Iron Man looking helmet. I'm looking at the way he's researching this. I'm looking at the way he's putting his thought process is putting things together. I'm looking at the design elements, and I just have to say, just like, oh, this is why I brought up the phone. Oh, this is so good. It's so good. This is exactly what I hoped it would be. These are just the sketches, and he's already told me what materials they'll be, like, like wood, stone, brass, like Salim, from Brooklyn to Nairobi. Thank you. This book is gonna be great. You guys, this book is gonna be great. So I had been searching social media for somebody who was very familiar with digital art, with contemporary art, and who had a strong, powerful comic book sensibility, and yet somebody who valued and understood and celebrated all kinds of traditional African art and design, and were incorporating that into their work. I found some really amazing artists, but I have to say, your work jumped ahead right away. I'm looking at the pictures behind you. It has that powerful graphic sensibility. It has the traditional design work, etc. And this book is written by T'Challa and Shuri, and it is a Wakandan dossier. It has to be legit. So I'm so glad I found you, and that we were able to work together on this.
Basically, what I'm trying to do is take the African aesthetic and mythology and culture and bring it forward into a more modern setting, give it more modern sensibilities and aesthetics, and just basically bring it forward, I would say. Because at the end of the day, what I would like people to see is the culture, the habits of the people, how people lived, how people looked, how the art was done, and so I don't want to change that because I want that original to be appreciated. And so if my art can be just a gateway for guys to now explore more mythology, more legends, more culture from Africa, and see that there is a lot there, that it's not just looked upon as, that's old stuff, that's for back then. Yeah, just making it look cool. Young guys like cool things, so you have to make it cool for the young guys. I really love it when a young guy comes and says, you know what, this looks really cool, and I like it, and I'm going to also, like the person is proud to share it with their friends.
So I had basically contacted you and asked you, I'm thinking of, I'm a big fan of masks, as you can tell behind me. I got these Skyrim masks
Yeah,
and all that. And
definitely. Yeah.
I got these Skyrim masks that I had made for the game. But
Ah,
this
nice, sweet.
design is based on this mask that I've had forever.
Ah,
You can see the similarities, especially in the eyes, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
And for me, the root of really good fantasy is when you can like take the aesthetic of one thing and borrow it, and from a real life, piece of traditional art. Because traditional art anywhere in the world is, these are designs that have been done again and again and again. They've been perfected, and there's symbolism in them, and there's a reason that they're done the way they're done. And when we just try to invent things from our mind, it's not going to be as good, and it's not going to be as resonant, with symbolism and with meaning. So I had tasked you with the idea of creating a mask for each chapter to represent a different category of whether it be mutant or extraterrestrial or cosmically gifted individual. And you attack this like perfectly. So I gave you basically an art test to see, if this was something that you were into, and that if this combination worked. And so I gave you here the 9 chapters of the book, and you went ahead and you picked a couple to just launch off with. And the first one was the introduction, and that was kind of a free for all, and you kind of went with Black Panther mask. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so I figured the Black Panther mask would be a nice easing into this task, because the Black Panther mask is already established. The original aesthetic would carry a lot of the weights, a lot of the work. Yeah, and so that's why I settled on that one. And so what I did was I went through Black Panther history. It's located in East Africa. It's actually neighboring Kenya.
Oh,
Just
really?
by that, yeah, it's neighboring. It's like between Uganda and Kenya, Sudan, somewhere there.
So if
So
I'm,
we're
if I'm
like,
flying between those countries, I might go through like a bubble and then suddenly see Wakanda.
yeah, yeah, man. I looked at the origin story of Wakanda, the rock, the meteorite that came in from space, and crash landed there, and so that's what they were using for their tech and their energy and resources. And so I just figured, let me give it this royal feel, because African royalty has a lot of gold, beads, a lot of teeth. And so I just decided, let me just minimally bring that in, give it the hollowed out eyes, and borrow heavily from the original aesthetic of the Black Panther mask.
Yeah, I really appreciated that you used the basic aesthetic of the mask, and yet you didn't copy the mask. It looks like he didn't make, but that was made to echo that art. It makes it feel like it's a celebrated aspect of the culture there in Wakanda.
Yeah.
And I like that it's this dark, kind of almost like a polished black wood with the regal gold, and of course the teeth, right? It's beautiful.
Yeah.
You
have to have the teeth.
Yeah, you have to have the teeth. They're so sick. They're so cool. So I saw this one and I was like, yes, this is cool. And if you could talk a little bit about your thought process in designing it, because this was the first kind of chapter image that you made that encapsulated that captures multiple. In fact, you have a shout out to every single character in this chapter, I believe, in this image.
It took time to do, but it was not as nerve-wracking as the other ones to do.
Oh no!
I can put it like that. Yeah. So what I did with this one is I looked into West African culture, specifically the West African. There was a lot of what's it called, metalwork, and so making of ornaments, bangles, rings, and also face. I don't know if you call them statues or busts. It's basically just the head, specifically from the Nok culture in West Africa. They would make like the head of past kings and queens. And so, and when I saw those masks, I was like, okay, yes. And Iron Man, you just show the Iron Man mask, and that's Iron Man. You don't need to show his full body or anything. So I thought, this really fits. I could now do the lines that also separated sort of the characters, from Iron Man and to Ultron, and also just give it like the lines. I believe gave it that African feel, especially. And I think it really matched with the sculptures from the Nok. Ultron vision, a vision represented with the Infinity Stone, and then also having the mudfish piece in the middle of the forehead, symbolizing wisdom from the West African royalty. The king has those ornaments, and so when the king has that, the mudfish, it represents wisdom. And so I figured, what, it's technological marvels, and so tech, symbolizes intelligence and wisdom, in the technical bits of things. And so I figured, it's a good fit to place it there. And so, can we redo this one? Because
it's okay. Nobody remembers the last
one.
one. Nobody ever knows her. I didn't know who she was beforehand. I didn't know who she was before. Was the last one was Jocasta, and you got like kind of like the mantle basically based on her, right?
Yeah, the hair.
So mystical abilities is a chapter, and that's the shortest chapter in the book. It only has 2 characters, Man Thing and Ghost Rider.
So in all of them, I was doing research and just going through masks and cultures and seeing what is the story behind the masks that would sort of fit. And so when I was going through the research, because of course I looked at Ghost Rider and Man Thing, their actual look, their physical looks in the comics, and so when I was going through the cultural books, like I had them at the back of my mind, and so what came to me was this a figure called Mbulungulu. It's a figurine used to hold the spirit of an ancestor, made of metal and wood, and it was held in high regard because it was an item that housed a person's spirit. And so I figured, it has vibes of Ghost Rider, Ghost Rider vibes, a spirit guy, a Man Thing vibes also, because it's not a man, it's a thing that has the spirit of a man, kind of, and so I figured, this kind of fits.
You had told me that the way they're made, the characteristics that they have correspond to kind of their abilities. So in this particular instance, the eyes, right? Like for Ghost Rider and Man Thing are both, especially Ghost Rider, very important. Could you quickly mention that aspect?
So for the eyes of Ghost Rider, because in African culture, usually a mask is made to bring out the power of whatever it is that is being made. Let's say, for example, you're making the mask of a bull. So basically, the bull, the mask is blessed and imbued with the power of the bull. And so even not anyone can make a mask. You have to be a special person to make a mask, an African mask. And so with the power imbued of the bull imbued in the mask, when the wearer of the mask wears the mask, he in essence becomes a bull spirit. And so when I saw that, and I figured, what, let me also bring that out in the masks that we're making here. And so the eyes of the mystic abilities chapter are glowing red to symbolize the strength of the Ghost Rider. They're not hollowed out, they're actually filled in. And so to represent the energy that is within the Ghost Rider. And the Man Thing, the Man Thing's aesthetic is he has like a motif.
It's like three roots in the eyes. Yeah.
And put the flame at the top. Of course, Ghost Rider, you must have the flames, and you must have the chains. So
it looks amazing. I loved when we were talking about these different masks. We wanted each one to kind of to not just be sourced from a different place, but be different. And as like they're used for different purposes. And I love the idea of this particular mask being, we discussed it being kept, only brought out on special occasion, and generally just being kept in its own location where there's nature and there's plants and all that. And basically humans dare not tread in there except on special days or whatever. And so the idea that they go in there, maybe one person goes in there, feeds the flame every day, but otherwise we make it, look older and more frightening than the other masks. And I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I think it's very effective, and knowing its origin story in your mind makes it that much more effective.